VALHEIM on Xbox is about to launch and I'm going to be delivering you Xbox gameplay, but I thought for now, to get you in the mood, here are the first two bosses that you'll encounter. A quick run through of one of my 100 days, pretty much half of it here, showcasing how to survive. With lots of tips, lots of guidance for you Xbox players about to play one of the best survival games ever. Check out my main channel JPG for up-to-date VALHEIM news and fresh guides. But I knew that so many of you guys are grounded players that have been watching my channel and subscribed. A lot of you play it on Xbox, so I'm sure you're going to be playing VALHEIM. So hopefully this video is useful. If it is, leave a like, make sure you're subscribed, and let's go. VALHEIM, the first two bosses. So after creating your character, you'll be dropped in by one of the Valkyries into the realm of VALHEIM. You are basically tasked with going through and defeating bosses and proving your worth to Odin. These standing stones are important. You'll be taking the trophies of the big bosses that you defeat back here so you can activate powers later on. You'll do the basics of gathering resources like wood, maybe berries, and fighting against boars in the meadows. That's the first biome that you'll really probably make a home and probably die at least once or twice until you get yourself a club and maybe some regular leather gear. You'll pick up leather scraps from killing the boar, and with this you should hopefully eventually be able to make some goods. VALHEIM has a skill system. The more that you do something, the more you get better at it. So every time you chop a tree or chop an axe, you'll get better at using an axe. The same thing goes for all the other weapons in the game, whether it's a spear, a bow, or even magic. As you gain new resources, it'll unlock new recipes, so you'll always know exactly what you can craft when you pick up a new item. So always make sure you pick new stuff up. Crafting bench is your first stop. You do need to make sure the crafting bench is covered over with some sort of roof so that you can go ahead and repair and use it. All the building that you'll do has to have your building hammer equipped, so you quickly craft one of them, and this is how you can start laying out the foundations of a small Viking home. When your tools or weapons become broken, don't worry, you can repair them for absolutely free at your crafting bench. You'll use tools like the hoe to flatten the ground so you can have a nice area to work on. Or if you really wanted, you can even raise it. At night time, it does get a little bit more difficult. You may find more enemies, so you can go ahead, sleep and skip the night. Being stealthy is important. The wind will alert creatures like deer to your presence, so you can sneak up on them. And whenever you're chopping trees or doing some sort of activity, it can alert enemies nearby. You keep gathering resources like the flints that you can only find on the shores close to a black forest, and then this will help you unlock even new tools and more upgrades. First boss you'll be directed to is the deer god. You'll be able to summon it by using trophies of deer heads that you've managed to capture for killing and hunting them, and then you'll face off against it. It's a pretty easy boss. You can actually take this on just wearing leather gear, and your best bet is to use a lot of range, so maybe a good 30 arrows or so. It will fire out lightning and it can do substantial damage, but you can kite it around a lot of the standing stones near its summoning point. The way bosses work is that once you've killed one, you get a special resource that will help you in the next biome. In this instance, it's going to drop some antler horn that we're going to craft into a pickaxe, and this will now allow us to actually mine better and bigger resources like copper, iron and more. Remember I said about turning the trophies to them standing stones? Well, now we've done that, we've got a special stamina ability which helps regenerate it a little bit quicker. It's time limited, so you do have a cooldown once you've used it, but it definitely helps. Inventory is limited in VALHEIM, but make sure you pick up absolutely everything and try and slay every creature that you come across in the early days, as you never know what tools or weapons it may unlock. Eventually in the Black Forest you will find these burrows. These burial chambers are really important as they'll house something called cores. These cores are what you're going to be using to power portals that will help you transfer a lot of your goods and yourself across the map. There are some limitations with these though. You can't take metals and ores directly through them, so you always have to think about how you're going to craft or get across. It also unlocks the smelters, so that now you can go ahead and mine things like copper as well as tin and then be able to smelt it down. Ideally you want to get around 10 of these so that you can go ahead and craft everything you need, but you can dismantle crafting benches and anything else and you always get exactly the same amount of resources that it took to build them. The copper deposits are massive pieces of green and grey rock that you'll find in the Black Forest only, and these are what you're going to have to harvest. Tin you'll find along the shores of rivers and again the shoreline of the Black Forest, so pick that up too. Black Forest is home to trolls. You'll often find them inside their own troll cave or just roaming around the woods. You can sneak up on them, but you do have to be careful as they're quite ferocious. Some have logs for big weapons, others will just be running around and hit you with their hands. So that's the audio today, going around the Black Forest, searching out for the burrows and clearing them out of any cores. Remember, if the worst comes to the worst and you die, you can go and pick up all your stuff. It'll all be neatly lined up in a special grave marker. There are some debuffs that happen though, and it's discouraged from dying because you'll start to lose some of them skills that you've accumulated. In fact, you lose 5% of your skills that you've accumulated to the previous level if you die. So really make sure you've equipped or you're not taking too many risks or chances. You'll do that by making sure you've got plenty of food to eat and a good mixture of stamina and health based foods. You'll notice on the left hand side you've got 3 slots for food. All food gives you pretty much stamina and health, but some give you more concentrated health and more concentrated stamina. Combat, running around, mining and gathering resources like chopping trees will all take your stamina down, and it's that yellow bar there you can see at the bottom in the middle. You don't unlock potions until much later in the game, so you have to rely on food to replenish your health over time. There are no easy fixes to just boosting your health in Valheim. It's a good idea to get used to making outposts pretty much everywhere, and you may find that you have got a better base location than previous. You want somewhere close to some of the ores like a Black Forest, but not too close that you'll be attacked daily. Then you'll be able to set up your mining station and get some of the ores and resources you need to make better tools and weapons. You put raw ore in and then you get proper copper or tin back. You also have to be careful with charcoal, hence why you need a smelter station. You can eventually get a forge upgrade, and this is what will allow you to craft and upgrade your weapons and armors. Pretty much every item relies on recipes being made out of 2 or 3 items. So you'll spend a large chunk of your early days in the game in the meadows and Black Forest chopping down trees and gathering ores. Ores do not respawn, so once they're gone, they are gone. That's why you have to keep continuing to search further and further to get more. There are some things that can help though. You can transport more goods because your inventory is limited using a cart. And there is a special trader that you have a random chance of finding that you'll also be able to go ahead and get an upgrade to carry more weight. Carts aren't always the best though. They can have a tendency to slip around and it's quite hard to steer them up certain inclines. So you might want to build yourself a road using your hoe. There's various different enemies in the Dark Forest. Things like these shaman which spit out a poison debuff on you that will eventually take away all your health, to the more regular grey dwarves and greylings. You usually need a lot more copper than you do tin in the early days, but you definitely need to make sure you've got some or both. Eventually you'll be able to craft and get yourself brand new stations, and this is where you'll also be able to improve and upgrade your weapons that you currently have. You can increase the amount of attack damage they do or the durability they have. So things like the crafting station will have 4 or 5 different unlocks that increase its level, meaning you can upgrade it 4 or 5 times, likewise the forge. I would definitely focus on upgrading your armors early in the game. There are different woods, and once you get these different woods you'll be able to go ahead and get yourself a cultivator. This is how you start to farm. You'll find certain plants in each biome that you can then take home and break them down, and seeds will be able to use to grow your own crops. Because you do always get all your resources back, it's a good idea to go ahead and destroy your base and reset up somewhere else if that's what you really want. Never be afraid to dismantle something. The first boss you pretty much are guided to straight away. After that you have to find these special stones that will give the location of the boss in that region. So we're in the Dark Forest, it will show where the Elder God is. That's the next boss. The map does have a fog of war, so you won't be able to reveal it all until you go into that area. Clearing out enough of the burrows, eventually you will get some cores, and with these cores you can then go ahead and make all the portals. Once you survive clearing them all out, you can have things like ghosts as well as rancid remains, which are elite skeletons in some of these. But once you get the job done, the portals can then be set up. You need to set one up manually here at whatever your base location is, and then remember to take the rest of the ingredients you need for your next portal and your ship for your journey, and then set it up to where you want it to be. You then name both portals the same, and that's how you can transfer between them. But again, remember you can't take metals and certain other items through. Cooking is really where you start to get much better buffs for your food and your stamina levels as well as your health, so make sure you get your farm up and running as soon as possible. You might want to make sure it's protected, as some creatures can climb along and trample it or just get in the way and you end up destroying it while fighting. Crops are pretty slow, so you might want to do some base improvements as you're waiting for them to grow. You'll eventually have enough resources that you can go ahead and craft more than just a raft, and this is really what you want to be exploring in a cave when you're going very far out. Each ship upgrade will allow more players to go on it, as well as being able to hold more resources. Sailing is very like real life. You have to match up with the icon so that the wind is behind you and turn your sail accordingly. Sometimes you will have an absolute dead sea in the direction you want to go, and so you have to kind of wiggle or pivot around. There's 3 different settings or modes for turning and using speed on the boat, and I'll cover that in more future guides. You may come across these leviathans in the ocean. They've actually got chitin on them. They're not dangerous per se, but eventually when you've broken open a few of the chitin crustaceans on its back, it will then decide to sink and submerge, so you have to be careful. These can be used to make a harpoon, which you can use to defend yourself against sea serpents, which have a chance to spawn or appear in ocean biomes. You'll know what biome you're always in because it always pops up in the top right of the minimap. Your stamina affects everything, running and swimming. When you start to run out of stamina while in water, you will then start to lose your health, so never be too far away from your boat. As you'll sail to new lands, you'll have to decide whether or not it's a good spot to land or find somewhere a bit more safer. You've got things like the swamps, which are the next biome that you should progress and explore, and then you've got things like the plains, which are pretty tough areas to go to at this stage. Ideally, you want to find a swamp that has some sort of dark forest or meadows close by that you'll be able to park up and set up an outpost quite safely. Never be afraid to use range on certain creatures. Trolls are deadly until you learn how to dodge and roll, which you can do in Valheim, or parry. Parry is one of the strongest things you can do in terms of combat, but you do need a decent shield, and as you get better at parrying, you increase your skills and your levels. But until then, arrows do fine for certain creatures. With troll leather, you can go ahead and make a lot of troll gear. This helps you be a bit more stealthy. Pretty much all the other armors have some sort of weight reduction, so they'll make you move slower as you're running around the world. Jumping ahead of myself a little bit, obviously we haven't got to the swamps yet, and we won't be in this video, but we do need to find that elder god. So I've came and you saw the location of the summoning, and now we just need to get more resources or clear out the area so we're ready. Trolls can be a great way to go ahead and get yourself lots of trees and wood if you let them run rampage around and knocking a lot of them over. They can fire massive boulders at you, so be careful, and they are one of the biggest threats while exploring the dark forest. Once you found the elder god's summoning point though, when you cleared it all out, it'll be time to summon the tree god. To summon the tree god, you will need ancient seeds. These ancient seeds can be found by killing certain creatures, or you'll get them for destroying some of the spawners that you'll find in the dark forest. Now the elder tree god is a definitely much more harder challenge, but it's not too difficult. You do need to make sure you use the standing stones close to avoid their oncoming onslaught of tendril roots, but otherwise fire arrows will really help here. It will sprout more roots that can do quite a lot of damage, so you just have to always be on the run, and I would say do circles or loops around the statues so you don't get caught. Take lots of pot shots as and when you can, and take care of any greylings or grey dwarves that will spawn nearby as well. Each enemy in Valheim does have either strengths or weaknesses against certain damage types, so some things are going to take more damage from hammers, others axes. The elder tree is definitely one of them that takes more damage from an axe. And there you go, you've now defeated 2 bosses and well on your way to succeeding in Valheim. Of course there's 1,000 more details and tips I could be giving, but hopefully that's give you a rundown of what you'll be doing in the first, I would say 30 to 40 days of Valheim. You may speed rush some of that, you may go ahead earlier, you might not spend much time building a base, it's all down to you. Your reward is better or quicker cutting trees down while using the ability that you gain from the elder god. And you'll also gain something called a swamp key, which will allow you to gain access to the dungeons in the swamp. Last thing to note is events happen. Every now and then you'll be attacked by certain creatures or certain things happening, and it depends where you are in the game. When you defeat certain bosses, it unlocks the chance of an event happening. So now we've gone and defeated the elder god, you've got a chance of being attacked by some of the swamp monsters. You also get random events that happen no matter where or what you are in the story, or in terms of what god you've actually defeated. So do make sure you've got some defences. Most people build a trench around their base or have it elevated high enough, and certainly definitely a lot of fences. And that's it, I hope it's been helpful taking on the first 2 bosses of Valheim and surviving, I would say, about 30 to 40 days. I recorded all this from my 100 days of Valheim, which you can go check out the full video on my channel or see the new director's cut that's coming on my 100 days channel. And yeah, for more guides and proper news up to date about Valheim, make sure you subscribe to my main survival channel, JPG. Until next time, rat bags, laters.